Nicholas County Board of Education special LSIC meeting Tuesday, February 6th. And so today we'll be hearing from Nicholas County Career Technical Center, Nicholas County High School, and Summersville Middle School. Mount Lookout has to be rescheduled. So at this time, if we'll stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, Nicholas County Career Technical Center, you're first, Mr. Bayless.
Thank you, Mr. Prine. Thank you, Mr. Beam, and the board for giving us a chance to not only brag about our school, but brag about our kids. Now, this is the third time the charm. We scheduled this twice now, so hopefully we can get this in tonight. So we'd like to start off just by going over some general school data and county data, and then we're going to talk about some projects. So to start off with, this is an overall snapshot. We currently have 621 students that's taken at least one CTE course in grades 9 through 12. If you look at the breakdown, you can see where each of those students come from. I do want to point out that the AEM CTE is our first year students, and PEM is second and third year combined. Okay, let's go ahead. So we think enrollment is pretty important because we are a standalone tech center, and sometimes it's hard to get students to come to our building. So we want to go over some historical data of just the enrollment at the tech center. Now, this does not include ninth grade exploratory or any programs at the high school. So just enrollment of full-time kids at the tech center. So back in 2017-18, we had 148 kids. That was the lowest enrollment we had in 10 years. And then we kept increasing enrollment every year. We made lots of changes to our high school schedules, to our tech center schedules, and we finally ended up last year with the highest enrollment we've had in 10 years. Then this year we dropped just a little bit to 331. Now, we probably attribute a lot of that enrollment drop to homeschool. A lot of kids just dropped out this year, just I think in high school. And we also moved Grow Your Own from our school to Nicholas County High School. Now, I told you we think it's pretty important to keep track of enrollment. Well, it turns out the state thinks it's pretty important to keep track of enrollment too, because 3 of our 6 accountability indicators come from enrollment. And that's participation, concentrators, and completers. So if you don't know, participants is any student that takes one CTE course. And we're required to have 55% of the 9 through 12 population. A concentrator is any student who takes 2 courses in the same program of study. And we're required to have 22%. A completer is any student that takes 4 courses in the same program of study, and we're required to have 12%. And if you look at the graph, the blue is our required number, and the orange is our current enrollment. So you can see participation, we're just barely making it. Concentration, we're doing pretty well. Completers, we barely made it, 129. So, and then middle school, that's new, starting last year, we're required to have 12% of middle schoolers take at least one CTE course. And that's mainly through our Project Lead the Way Gateway and Discover Your Future programs. So we talked about 3 efficiency indicators of participation, concentration, and completion. If you guys remember back in September, you got a report card on our school, but it also dealt with work-based learning, performance, that's based on a NOCTI assessment, and endorsements, that's our teacher endorsements. And the state says we're required to meet at least 75 points to get a meet standards. And Nicholas County last year scored 91 points. And if you look at the breakdown, we didn't do too bad, but we did lose quite a bit of points in work-based learning. That's a new indicator we had last year, and unfortunately, we did all the work for it, but we documented it wrong in LSIC, so we didn't get credit for it. So we since fixed that problem, and right now we're on track to meet 15 of those 15 points.
So that's 91 out of 100.
91 out of 100, yes, sir. So, now we're going to let Alex talk to you guys just a few minutes about some current projects and things we're doing at the school.
When Mr. Bayless asked me to help with this presentation, I said, if you do the boring data stuff, then I'll talk about the cool stuff. So, no. But we really are proud of the data and where we are at as a school. But we're also really proud of the project work that our students get to do every day. And so we wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. In case you've been living under a rock and haven't found out yet, we have kind of a long-standing partnership with the State Department of Tourism, especially with this Almost Heaven Swing project. And this is one of those awesome opportunities that just leads to even more opportunities for our students. And so, like I said, if you're not familiar with it, basically the idea was tourism went to career and technical education at the State Department and said, hey, we have this wild idea to make these big swings and put them in these iconic spots in West Virginia. And we were kind of wondering if some students could be involved. And Clinton Birch says, let me call the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center. They're your people. So they called us and kind of just gave us total freedom to kind of do what we thought would be best. And so that our students worked with our instructors and went back and forth with the tourism people to develop the swings. And so these are made 100% in-house. Our graphic design team, along with our Project Lead the Way, our welding program, our carpentry program, I mean, we have about half the school involved in this project. And 2 years ago was when we kind of piloted it, and we made 10 swings. And then they came back last year and were like, hey, this is going really well. Can we do 10 more? So we did 10 more last year. Well, they've been tracking the data through, like, they encourage you to go and then post it to social media, hashtag Almost Heaven. And there have been tens of thousands of posts of just people from all over that are sitting on swings that were made right here at the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center. And so they came back to us. We've done 20 over 2 years. They said, can you do 21 this school year? We said, yes, sure we can. So that's a big project that we've got going on, and our students are so proud to see their work out in the wild and to see all that positive feedback on social media. Another project that we're engaged in a little bit more locally is we have a long-standing partnership with Mountain Lake Campground. We've built cabins for them pretty much every year for the last 5 years, and they've contracted our engineering class and our welding class to create a disc golf course and basically make them from scratch and install them there. And so that's another one of those opportunities for our students to show off what they can do and have their work kind of out there in the wild right here at Mountain Lake Campground. So we're really proud of the project work, but also we're excited about the outreach opportunities. We feel like it's never too young to have a really good experience with CTE. And so we reach out to elementary schools, and we've partnered with so many over the years. This year we've been working with Golly River Elementary. They're right next door. And they've been bringing their students over a few times throughout the year to work with our Pro Start program to make holiday cookies. And so our Pro Start students love it because they get to be like the big kids and teach the little ones how to bake the cookies and then decorate them. And then, of course, they get to take them home and give them to loved ones. And so we have a lot of partnerships with elementary schools. We're also really proud of CTE trickling into the middle schools. This is a big development statewide. And one of those developments, not to step on toes too much, but we did want to talk about the Gateway program. If you're not familiar with it, the State Department recently put out a 60-second video that kind of showcases what it is. So we wanted to play that for you because this video has been distributed statewide, but it's featuring Summersville middle school students.
The Project Lead the Way Gateway program offers middle school students the opportunity to explore STEM-related concepts through fun, hands-on problem solving.
So we're working on this robot here, and we're trying to program it to go from this side of the table to this side of the table without it crashing and falling down and breaking it.
But the Gateway program isn't just one class. It's a variety of STEM units, ranging from exciting topics like flight and space to medical detectives. And each unit is designed to stretch students' imagination while also teaching collaboration skills.
Probably one of my favorite parts of this class is hanging out with my friends, fixing things, and also making really cool stuff.
Not only does the Gateway program provide incredible opportunities for students in middle school, but it also prepares them for the high school-based Project Lead the Way pre-engineering program offered at local career and technical centers.
Yeah, this class is great. So not only do my kids get to wrestle with these tough STEM concepts while they're here with me, but it also prepares them for the high school version of this class that's also through Project Lead the Way.
So if you're a middle school student interested in STEM, you like working with your hands, and you're ready for an exciting challenge, visit us today at careertechwv.com to get started.
So that's just a little bit about the Gateway program, and we have that at both middle schools, and that's a really great partnership to kind of funnel into the Career Center to give those students that experience at the middle school level. And then to wrap things up, we did want to give credit where credit is due. Our students have just been killing it in the career and technical student organizations. So we did want to highlight what they have been able to accomplish. Most of the state competitions don't happen until late spring, so this is the report of what has happened last spring. So we did compete in the West Virginia Business Plan competition. We had 3, if you're not familiar with this is awesome. This, if you've ever seen the TV show Shark Tank, it's similar to that, where the students develop a new product and they take it and pitch it to real investors. We had that group of 3 students won $2,000 to start developing the marshmallow catcher, which they designed there in class. The engineering students worked with the welding students, and so we're hoping that this will be sold at your local Walmart and outdoor sporting goods stores coming soon. But we're really proud of the work that they've done there. Another organization that we have is the Future Business Leaders of America. And at that state competition, we had a bunch of students compete, and we had 3 silvers. And then because some of those were team competitions, 4 students actually qualified to go on and compete at the national level in the Future Business Leaders of America organization. We also have a group called Educator Rising. And again, at the state competition, we did really well. We had 4 gold medals and 1 silver. And then again, because of the nature of team competitions, 6 students actually qualified and were able to go to the national competition. Another career and technical student organization that we have is Skills USA. This is the big one because it encompasses all disciplines at the Career Center. So really, anybody from graphic design to ProStart to welding, everybody can compete. And we were actually awarded a West Virginia Gold Chapter of Excellence. That's a very difficult task, and there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through and boxes that need ticked. And we were able to do that, and so we're very proud of that. That was sort of a group effort. We also had one of our own instructors who got the Advisor of the Year award. This is our welding instructor. And then, of course, our students just crushed it. So at the state competition, oh yeah, before I forget, we also have 2 state officers, which hopefully you'll get to meet if you haven't already later this week. But they are 2 fantastic ladies. To have 1 state officer is a big deal. To get 2 state officers from the same school is pretty unprecedented. And again, those 2 ladies are fantastic. As far as the competition itself, though, we had 5 golds, 9 silvers, and 2 bronzes at the state competition, and many of those were, team competitions. And so altogether, we had 9 competitors going to national, and we actually had somebody place 4th in the nation in one of her competitions. And she is coming back this year for gold, and you better get out of her way because she is determined to get it this year. So. We're really proud of all of those accomplishments. And speaking of Skills USA, as most of you already know, we have our in-house competition, so shameless plug, please come out. Next week, February 15th at 4 p.m., awards are going to be happening around 8 p.m. It's a fantastic time to see all of our students at work. So that's a little bit about what's going on at the Career Center. Does anybody have any questions?
We have a board meeting there at 2 o'clock.
Right, yeah, it's kind of perfect timing. It worked out well, so yeah.
I don't have any questions, but that's awesome. As a businessman or whatever, to see those young kids getting that exposure that early is tremendous.
Yeah, Chloe Cox had come to see me back in the summer, and she was actually supposed to come to the board meeting last night, but then those girls they went to change because of ball games or something. Mm-hmm. But she's wanting to expand the Skills USA down the middle school.
Yeah.
So she wants to share that with the board.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying to work a schedule where we can get it together at the same time, but she's very enthusiastic about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Eddie, I'm just kind of curious.
Sure.
great where you're going and stuff like that, and this is a loaded question. The board may not like me to ask, but what's your needs? What are you going to need?
Probably the biggest thing is our roof.
A roof.
Yeah, yeah, definitely need a roof, and we need some updated lighting throughout the school and our shop areas and stuff like that.
As far as equipment stuff, you all pretty good on your equipment?
Pretty well equipment, yes.
We're working on that roof.
Yes. Yeah.
You're building a new building out back, aren't you?
We're building a small workshop out back for carpentry and our welding programs, yeah.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
for your presentation.
Next, we have Mrs. Brack with Nicholas County High School. Should probably need to follow that.
Yeah, I think I have to follow that. Mine hooked up there. So every time I want to use this, it doesn't work. I think I changed. You stole part of my presentation. You took part of my presentation.
No, I think it might.
And Mrs. Rapp, we're working on Nicholas County High School's sewer system project too, so it's in the works. Yeah.
Every time I go to use this TV, it never works. It's me. It's not the TV, obviously. Thank you for being here, and thanks for listening to us tonight. It's just a preview of our LSIC members. We have quite a variety of community and parent people involved here. Our current enrollment is 688, and we have dropped a bit this year. And we've actually had 85 leave. We've enrolled 53, so it kind of didn't quite balance out. But 31 of those went to homeschool. So that's the biggest chunk of what left us this year was homeschool kids, which is concerning. Our school performance data this year, as you can see, last year we were ahead of the state. This year we're not quite with them, we're a little behind them. But I think it's important to realize too that we're not comparing apples to apples. That was a different group of kids last year. This is a whole different group of kids this year. So I brought this comparison to show you, which I think this one explains it better. This year's seniors, which would have been last year's juniors, that took the SAT test. When they were sophomores, they took the PSAT. So if you look at their mean score, when they were sophomores was 839, and this year they were 886. And their reading and writing was 430, this year was 455. Math was 409, and now it's 430. So I like to look at that. I know the state looks at just juniors and SAT, but I kind of like to look and make sure we are growing, because this is comparing the same group of kids. We will give that we're going to do pre-SAT school test. It's all digital this year, which that's a whole new can of worms for everybody this year. It's digital, it's not paper, so we're going to give a practice digital test in March to see how they do, see where they lack, what they lack, and then go on from there. Attendance is a concern this year for us, as well as enrollment, as we discussed a while ago. I'll get into attendance after a while. It's just a little off this year. Strategies, we're currently using our last year's PSAT test results for this year's juniors to bridge those learning gaps. IXL for support. Teachers are using it not quite like they did last year. They're using it more as a tool that goes along with their lessons and their current content. Then we have 8th period XCOM for students that need academic assistance. They used it for math field day prep. We're going to use it for SAT test prep as well. And If kids have an F, they're required to go to those classes during flex, and then after the semester grades this year, we looked at our DF report, so if they're failing, they can use this flex time this semester to do some credit recovery from first semester. And we have collabs in math and English. We have one, I think, in science and one in history. We're trying to incorporate more of those, but as you know, math and English is where we're held most accountable. And we do have a smaller math and English because there's a group of kids that have modified the program, and then you have your high flyers, and there's some in between that need some extra support. So we have smaller math and English classes for those. Like I said, we do have that flex time. That'll probably go away next year since we're having less periods, but we're going to try to work in some credit recovery spots and some extra time for kids in that way. So our attendance, like I said, this year, it's just not quite what it has been. It's probably been the lowest that I've seen it. But then again, depending on what report you run, you get different numbers. Mike Williams came last week, and he had a list, but when you pull it up and look at another in the grid, it doesn't match. And it's not Mike, it's just, you can run about 2 or 3 reports and none of them say the same thing, but our attendance is down some this year. Our graduation rate, 4 years is 97.35, which I think is really, really good. And our 5-year was 95.62. So I think we do pretty well in that area. There's our current IXL. I know that you all look at that. The first is how many skills they've mastered and proficient, and then that next slide with the purple graph is the light purple is proficient and the dark purple is what they've mastered this year. And I updated this from when I sent this in earlier, since the data changes pretty much daily. Celebrations. As you know, we were at the board meeting for the college, Champion of College and Career Readiness. We've had several updates to the school. We've taken a lab in 196 and made that a Spanish room. We had new carpet in the auditorium, which was greatly needed. And room 116, we've updated it. All the teachers have the new TVs and the new laptops. I mean, I think we're really fortunate in the county to have all the tools that we have. Sports, golf this year was the first team to go to the States in 27 years, I think, with Joe Dooley, if I'm not mistaken. Volleyball, there was several girls in first and second team all conference, and Julie's daughter Olivia had her 1,000 assist, which is kind of like your basketball 1,000 points. Soccer, we had all region and all states, and Johan he had soccer and football, and I think he's probably going to he's going somewhere, I think, to kick football. Cross country, we had several standouts in cross country, and then the boys team qualified for the states, as well as Adrian Truman and Haley Johnson. Football, like I said, several there, and I'm pretty sure Johan's going on. Fine arts, Mr. Heights, like he's a really bright spot here. I think I could ask him to go on top of the building and teach, and he'd do it and not ask me why. They do lots of community performances and theater performances, concerts, and he's a great asset to the building here. Mrs. Cox has been several places this year. She was at the Mountain Color Art Show in Ridgewood. She takes several things to Tamarack. Right now she's working on a wildflower exhibit for the Tamarack. And she's been to the Dairy Queen, painted their windows. 2 weeks ago she went to Summersville Elementary, took a group of kids, and They were actually in second grade in my granddaughter's class over there. So she does a lot of community work. Strikers in the band, they had a pretty good showing at Black Walnut and Winfield. And they didn't get to go to Virginia, snowed them out. Student Council and National Honor Society do lots of work in the school. Student Council has been going to several elementary schools and doing reading and craft projects with, they might make it around all the elementary schools this year. National Honor Society always works the Christmas store at the Armory. They do the Christmas craft show here with the fundraiser, which part of that goes to the Mark Shiflett Scholarship. And they always help out with school opening. You have lots of new kids and the freshmen, they don't know where they're going, so they all wear matching shirts and help them find their way. And that's our saying for the year. Kids hear it every morning. Do they have any questions?
The only question I have is, I know we're going to do a 7-period day next year. What challenges are you running into in designing your schedule?
Well, honestly, not too many, because
I know
we
the
had that
flex.
8-period flexes,
Right.
so not
Okay.
many.
I was
Not
hoping
many.
you was going to say that, but I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
not many.
Okay.
Tom and Scott and I just kind of need to get together to organize who's going and when they're going at the Career Center.
Right. That's the
But
part I
other
was
than
worried
that,
about. Okay, good.
it's not too bad.
Good.
That's kind of, it's a busy time of year, but that's kind of one of my favorite times. schedules.
Do you have a feel why the attendance
I don't know, they get,
societal? Or?
I think the parents, I mean, you have some parents that don't value education or the kids being here. And it seems pretty easy to go to homeschool, which is, they miss out on a lot more than just academics. They miss out on the socialization. I think attendance is one of my big worries of the year. And it's still not terrible, not compared to what the state wants to have, but it's not what we've had, so.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have Christina Freeman, Summersville Middle School. She only has half a presentation.
Huh?
You only have half a presentation.
Yeah. That's all right, Tom. Happy to help you.
Thanks, Mr. Brown.
I got you.
Okay, great. Okay. Of course, we're here from Summersville Middle School, and our motto is striving for the best, we rise above the rest. LSIC members, we have a good variety. Mr. Dietz, Mr. Spinks, Mrs. Westfall, she's our new counselor. She just started with us last year. Seth represents our service personnel, and parents, Jessica Lilly, Christian Barnett, Angie Groves, and our business partner, Kim Young with Atkins and Young. Our attendance, just like Mrs. Rapp mentioned, I mean, we're still meeting the criteria and the goal at 90%. However, we have dropped a lot this year. The biggest one, the second month, 92 this year. And last year, we were at 99% attendance for the second month. So that's quite a drop. At the first month, I attributed that we had a lot of kids sick, and in the first 2 weeks of school, I had 7 teachers out in 1 week for COVID. So we were hit really hard right at the beginning, but then, the second, third, and on up to the 5th month, you know, last year was 93%. The 5th month was 91 here. And I think part of that is still, we're coming off of that COVID attendance, that's what I like to call it. You know, people would be out, and now we still have a few that linger and say, well, my kid's out sick, and so we're going to hold them for this many days, and they still think they can get lessons online. I'm going to put my kid virtual for a week, and, well, we don't do that anymore. And so I think there's some confusion there on the part of the parents at times. Our current enrollment is 549, and we fluctuate a little bit. We've been holding for the past few years around 550. I think it was 4 years ago we had hit right at 600. And then throughout the school year, we'll fluctuate usually 8 to 10 students with children who are residing at the Alta shelter. Our counseling department, of course, Mr. Groves and Mrs. Westfall. Our theme for the counseling department has been emotions, and I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Inside Out, and the little girl has all those emotions in her head: anger, sadness, happiness. So we kind of took that last year, and we've rolled with that as a way to teach the kids that it's okay to have all of those emotions, and you're going to have all those emotions, but you have to learn how to handle that and how to respond and how to react to others. So trying to teach the appropriate behaviors through that. Also, of course, they focus in on suicide prevention, anti-bullying, cyber safety. Mr. Groves primarily focuses in with the 8th grade on career exploration and the CFWV. Talking about assessments, general summative assessment, we had growth. We had small growth, but we had growth, so I'll take that. In ELA, it was just a little bit over, 1% bump up, and you can flip to the next one. And with math, we had just right about 1%, so it was growth, but very little. One thing that we're doing and focusing on currently this week, we started giving the CIA benchmarks, and so the teachers will give those benchmarks before testing starts, and they'll look at those standards, and within their team, they'll discuss the standards that these students need work on, and they'll be focusing on some reteaching of those certain standards before our testing window, and just to check for understanding with the students as well. And that's one thing. You can kind of flip to the next one. Thank you. You can see that we did meet annual targets in mathematics. We're still not where we need to be, but we're close, and we're closer than we were. So I'd like to have large numbers when it comes to growth, but I'll take growth. And I think we're going to see more this year. The teachers have worked really hard in really targeting instruction and looking at those standards closely within our team meeting, and implementing some different strategies in classes, focusing and meeting the needs of students using IXL for extra practice. And I think we're going to see some gains for sure. And this was data from the first meeting, but every month we are seeing an increase in growth on IXL, and that was as of our January 4th data. So we are seeing growth there. 6th and 7th grade seems to have the largest in math at this point. So in mathematics, one thing that they are focusing on, warm-ups at the beginning of each lesson that focuses on reteaching whatever it is they're working on that week, the standard procedure to start the class immediately. And also looking at the data, and we've done that from the beginning of the school year in our teams. Our grade level teams meet weekly, and we have an agenda. They receive an agenda either on Friday or Sunday night, and it has a plan for them, and it discusses what we're going to be doing that week within teams. During their teams, one day they meet with, co-lab teachers meet with their special ed teacher, and they plan their instruction that way, who needs small group, who needs pool, those sorts of things. We also do professional development within that team time during the school day, which is really nice because it's hard to get teachers to stay after school. I don't want to stay after school. So if I can do that during the day and we have that little bit of time, that I can have people come in and give them training on, small group instruction, differentiated instruction, whatever it might be, de-escalation, we use that time. It's also a time I'm missing, SATs, 504s, IEPs, our special education department, they plan those meetings during that time, so I don't have to pull teachers away from instruction. So they're not missing class time to attend those meetings, and we have quite a few of those throughout the year. So we have right now, with 504s, SATs, and IEPs, about 140 for our school caseload. So that's a large number. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of meeting with parents. And also we use that team time if teachers need to call home and talk to parents about specific problems. They have that a lot of time that they can have their partner teachers with them to discuss what the issues are. So it's really nice. Oh, we're shutting down. Somebody is. Oh, so there you go. Okay, you can do the next one. English, a lot of the same things, but they also do a lot of graphic organizers, intervention based on classroom grades and the snapshots. We do working lunch, and that's the opportunity. Teachers are always available. They rotate working lunch. So if a kid needs extra help and they want to use their lunchtime, the teachers, actually every teacher in my building has participated in working lunch. They'll give up their lunch to work with the kids. So we're really fortunate. Project-based learning, we've done several of those. The Halloween stories, that's the big one that the kids look forward to every year in 7th grade, because they work with several teachers and they create their stories, and then they build a campfire and they do all these different things, the components with it. Okay. And Mr. Jarvis, he's our interventionist. He's currently seeing about 86 students, and he provides one-on-one instruction, small group, homework help, anything they might need. But he also participates in our grade level team meetings, SAT meetings. He works with teachers to provide strategies for the kids that need help. He's willing to meet with parents, and he keeps track of a lot of the kids and their grades, and he'll communicate that with the parents and the faculty. So he's a big help to us each day. Okay. Some of our best practices, growth mindset. Every day is a new day. We try to, if you had a bad day yesterday, it doesn't matter because today's a new day. You may have messed up big time, but when you come back, you got a clean slate. We're team focused. We really do meet every week with our teams, and the teachers work together to decide what we need and what direction we need to go in. Collaboration, small group instruction, and staying positive. Pause Perks, it's somewhat similar to what the high school does, but we did rename it that just so when the kids move on to the high school, they would have an idea of what they're doing and some exposure to that for transition purposes. And with ours, we do this once a month, 0 unexcused absences, passing all classes, no discipline referrals, and not more than 3 lunch detentions. And then with the no missing assignments, that's per the teacher. So if kids are sick or they're out, they just have to talk to their teacher and then they can still participate. But the last Friday of each month, they earn that perk and they get to choose what activity they want to do. And it's a variety of things. Taylor Swift bracelet making has been huge right now. They might go to the Ox Gym and play basketball, or some kids just want to read. Different activities, it's a variety. Okay. We have our Bear Council, which is Mr. Spinks, that's our student council. We have the Honor Society. And Mr. Spinks, Ms. Spell, and Mrs. McGraw are in charge of that. Gear Up, this is our last year for the Gear Up grant, and Mrs. Spinks has been the facilitator of that since we received that money a couple years ago. And we have a few 8th grade college visits this year, and then that will exhaust the money that we had there. FCA is really large. They come in once a month, and we have a meeting. We usually have about 200 kids that participate in FCA, so it's a really nice club for them. And then we just acquired our new choir teacher, music teacher that we just hired, was able to acquire an entire set of steel drums. So we just got possession of those within the last month, and a couple of them need repair. And when we got the paperwork, it said we'd turn over ownership to Summersville Middle School. So we are working on having a steel drum orchestra, and I'm going to be posting some videos on our Facebook page that you'll be able to see some of the things they've already been learning, some of the smaller groups. So we're really excited about that. And we have some new classes this year that we offered, but I'm not going to talk anything about that. I will let Mr. Woods do that. He's our Project Lead the Way instructor for 8th grade. And also in 7th grade, we have Mrs. Spell, and 6th grade is Mrs. Freeler. So,
Okay, so I want to start with some growth stuff, and I tried to bring the data that you guys asked me about last time ahead of time, so if I missed anything, I'm sorry. But the last time we spoke, we told you about flight and space, robotics, and design and modeling. From that, we've added new courses. We have 3 new courses. We have medical detectives, which is, it's kind of like an accelerated and in-depth anatomy. And I know Mr. Moose was there at the school last week, and we talked about the brains and their dissections. And that's where that happens, is in med detectives. It's been a lot of fun. I'm teaching it as well. And then we also added magic of electrons. That one's kind of like the basics of electricity, circuitry, and stuff like that. And Ms. Spell picked it up. We also have energy and environment. It talks about some energy architecture, clean energy, green energy, and how that fits in with the modern world. So those have been a huge success. Enrollment is targeted at 25 for each class, and I believe we have a couple at 23 and 24, but we're sitting right around our enrollment goal. So the growth has been fantastic, and the kids are loving it. We are also trying to adjust, kind of test run it with my classes. I'm trying to cut the classes down to a semester so that the kids can participate in both classes, not have to choose between. So my kids this year are they're going to guinea pig for us, and they're going to do, they just finished flight and space or med detectives. They're going to flip it so that they can do both and be exposed to both, so they have a better idea of what they want to go into when they have the option to go to the Career Center. They have been little celebrities this year. They've been in the promotional video. They've been in a couple of, I think the news station was in once, and one other time they've been on camera, and they're eating that up. They're loving every second of it. So that was really cool. The kids absolutely loved having the Career Center over and doing the video. They talked about that for weeks and hounded me for every day until the video came out, wondering when they could see themselves on YouTube or TV or wherever it's going to be. So that was a lot of fun. We also, the last time we presented, we talked about some field trips and stuff and taking them to museums, and we did make that happen. We got to go last year to the National Air and Space Museum in Virginia, and I don't have any pictures to show you. It was a huge hit, but a very long trip. We left the school around 6 a.m., didn't get back to around 11, but the kids got to see some bombers, space shuttle discovery, a lot of things that they learn about in the curriculum. They got to go and see those things and take pictures, so that was awesome too, and we are planning on doing that again, hopefully. I think that's all for the growth. And then some exciting things happening within our classes that the State Department has kind of brought on. We have been, I don't know, is selected the right word? It's kind of like a model school for Gateway. We've been selected as a model school for how the Gateway program should be run. So we've had Charles Pack, he's the director of the Beckley Academy of Career and Technology. Charles Pack came down and visited just to kind of learn about the program and see how it's implemented and learn about curriculum. And Mr. Pack is going to bring back some teachers from Raleigh County, and they're going to use us as kind of a model to implement Project Lead the Way, or the Gateway version, the middle school version in Raleigh County. So that's really exciting to know that our work is being noticed by the State Department, other counties. So that was pretty cool. We also got 2 recommendations from the State Department for master teacher applications. So the State Department has contacts with Project Lead the Way and recommended myself and Ms. Bell to be master teachers for the robotics section and the flight and space section. So I got my application in, and hopefully we get certified to be master teachers in those courses to where we do the trainings for counties and all over the country to train other teachers how to implement this program in the curriculum. So that was really exciting too. The last time that we spoke, we talked about enrollment, and you asked about, I don't remember who asked, but somebody asked me about the male to female ratio in these classes, and I did bring that data. For my classes in flight and space, I have 12 female students, 13 male students, and in medical detectives, I have 11 female students, 12 male students with 1 dropped female student. So it's still sitting right about one to one, which is exciting to me to see that it's inclusive, inviting to everyone, and the kids love the program. They're having a blast. So, I think that's all I have. If anybody has any questions for me, if not, we'll turn it back to Christine.
Are these scheduled as regular full-time classes?
They are scheduled as elective classes and scheduled all year currently. But I'm kind of test running to see if we can fit them into a semester class so the kids have more exposure. And since it's career-based, they get so like physics and astronomy and flight and space, but then they also have the opportunity to get some health sciences stuff through Ed Detectives. I'm really excited about that. Oh, and one other thing I did forget to tell you about, it's kind of like a middle school skills version of a competition for the gateway classes, although it doesn't line up as well as, like, there's not a flight and space competition. There is a search and rescue, an urban search and rescue competition that kind of lines up with our curriculum, and we're looking into starting those as well, having teams compete. And Ms. Spell is looking into a robotics team for the middle school. So those are exciting as well. And we also will be at the Career Center on the 15th presenting some of our projects, and the State Department has requested us on March 1st. They requested our classes to come down and present on the state's scheduled career day, career tech day. So we'll be the one of 2 middle schools there presenting career tech in middle school and kind of what that looks like in implementation.
I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Sometime during the fall, there's some discussion, and Tom may know, and you may know too, Christine may know, about scheduling our middle school kids to actually go to the C2E Center from time to time. Is that still something we're planning to do in our schedule?
Yeah, we last year we brought 8th grade over once a month.
Right.
During our 9th grade time. And we're looking at next year's schedule to see if we can start bringing them over once a month or more often we're doing.
Okay. So I thought that was something that was in the works. The second question I have deals with IXL. Do you all see the value of IXL? Do you like the IXL? Because every time I go to a superintendent's conference, I get all these vendors coming to me about benchmarking and all the different things that they do. And IXL has always got a, and Dr. Lee told me that she had promised our teachers that if they went with IXL, that she would guarantee they would get to do that 3 years before they change it to something else. I'm not interested in changing something else. What I'm wanting to know is, does IXL serve the purposes you all need to gather the data you need to compare and see if your kids are growing or not?
Do you want to, you talk
I can talk
from
from
teacher
teacher
perspective,
perspective.
and then I'll talk from my perspective.
It is useful as a tool, but it is not the most accurate tool, if that makes sense.
That's what I want to hear. I mean, I need to know this stuff.
So the kids are, we call it, in our teacher meetings, we call it IXL burnout, because they're
Okay.
kind of hit with it a lot throughout testing time and benchmarking time. So the kids get burnt out on IXL. So personally, I have no data to back this up, but I wonder how reliable those benchmarks are. But it does show the growth from student to student. So I think it's useful as a tool if implemented correctly, but if it's overdone, then the kids are just kind of I mean, you know how they get with testing. They're
Well,
just-
if we used another method, would it get burned out on it too? That's my question, I guess.
I think part of it is that we use IXL as a tool in classes. So they have math modules that coincide with their curriculum.
Right.
So they're doing that IXL, and then in homeroom classes, they do their benchmark, and their arena is what it's called, which is where they get their benchmarking scores. So they have IXL there, IXL in English, IXL in math, and it's a great tool, but the kids are kind of like, oh,
All right.
more.
It kind of leads into my last question. I mean, I'll be quiet. This year's a math adoption. And I've made it very clear to all my principals in our meetings and every time I get a chance to talk to somebody that I'm really concerned about our academic growth in our school system. Have you all had a chance, Coach Candy, have you all had a chance to look at the math choices out there? Because IXL, for the first time, I think, actually is offering a textbook adoption with math. Have you all looked at it? Have you all gone down that road yet to see what's out there? Because we're going to have to choose it in the next month or so. We've got to pick a math series for the next 6 years.
We just had, was it yesterday or today? We had some things delivered.
Right.
And I'm not sure.
I know the caravan, I think, is in March.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to present something to our board by the 1st of May to adopt the series. And I've been in classrooms all week. And in the elementary schools, I've been seeing all these books everywhere. But I didn't know if you guys was getting your materials to even look over and preview it.
Yes, they have.
We had,
I think yesterday,
was it
but we
yesterday?
haven't had a chance
Yeah.
to dig into it.
We got one like a week ago, and so some of the math teachers were checking it out. I can't remember which company, but then we received some yesterday. I'm not sure.
And you made the comment earlier about after school, everybody wants to come, and I get it, believe me, I get it. But what I don't want to happen is for this preview period to go by, and when it comes time to adopt, we don't really know what series is the best. We need to have a good idea what to recommend to our board for adoption, because we're stuck with it for 6 years.
Yeah, and I can kind of speak to the, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to tell you that in our team time, we did take we had 50 minutes, and then we had stuff scheduled for the day, but we did spend our team time Monday as an 8th grade team going through some of the math curriculum, and we all kind of pitched in. So
Is McGraw-Hill one of the ones offered to the high schools or just elementary? Do you guys know? I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I can't remember what came in yesterday.
they
I'm
did
not
have
sure.
a McGraw-Hill book in our
Because
They
the
did.
teachers I talked to this morning, I was in Birch River and somewhere else, and I talked to them about McGraw-Hill, and they said there was so much reading to it, and their kids struggle so much with reading that they can't get actually to the math skills they need to learn. So that's the kind of things I want to know before I put my stamp on a adoption. It's going to cost us $1 million or whatever.
She'll probably be mad that, well, both of them, they'll probably be mad that I threw them under the bus, but Heather Williams and Bruce Dietz have both taken deep dives into, every time I've seen them the past couple of days, they've been nosing a textbook, so.
Okay, that's good to know.
They.
Well, and they should, because they're going to be stuck with it for 6 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've been stuck with things for 6 years before that, well, never mind. Go ahead.
Our math teachers have that common planning, so they have time to look at that. One of the questions they have, they wanted to know before they would actually say which one they liked best was, were we keeping IXL, or do they need to look at a math curriculum that offers its own online?
And that's one of the reasons I asked this question about the IXL, whether I know Dr. Lee promised that nobody, no, 3 years, but if it's a lousy program, and I'm not saying it is, if it is, why just stick another year at school? You said you wouldn't change it 2 years, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure we're getting something that's valuable to us, and I don't want to burn out either.
And I do know that Mr. Dietz uses it successfully, that he implements it a lot, and Miss Williams, both for math, and then Miss Long and Miss Cottrell both use it a lot for English. We do not have licensing for science or social studies, so we don't use them in those classes. But our math and English, from what I've learned in team times, they do, because I hear them talking about the codes that they're missing with Mr. Jarvis, and it's a whole thing with IXL. But they do utilize those in class kind of alongside the curriculum we currently have with, they can assign certain codes for certain skills that go into what they're teaching. So that may be like taking place of a worksheet or on top of a worksheet for extra practice, but they can go in and assign those kids certain skills So like if a kid's needing help with linear equations, there's a skill for that. And they give them a 3-digit code that puts them straight into questions to linear equations. So the math people, I know they really like it. I don't know much about English.
Okay, that's fair.
That's what I know.
And I think they do like it, but I think it's really, really important to remember the balance that you have to have, because I will die on the hill that nothing beats instruction from the teacher, old-fashioned if you will. Nothing will beat that, because that's how you're going to learn who your students are. That's how you learn what they need. And if you're constantly sticking them on a device and they're not writing out those math problems, they're not, going through all the writing processes on paper, you're missing it. And even when you take the GSA, they're giving you scrap paper to do those processes, and then you put your answer in. So there has to be, I really think everyone would benefit, in my opinion. You can ask everyone else, but my opinion is everyone would benefit from that professional development that is a balance of those things. And, our textbook adoptions, it's like 80% follow the standards of what we have to teach. And I feel like we're adopting curriculum to be used, but all of those teaching strategies and getting down one-on-one with your kids and in those small groups, that nothing can top that. I just don't believe anything can top that, because if you're putting them on a device, you're not building a relationship with that child. So I think that's a big problem with growth, student growth.
I do too, and I think you can lose a day a week in class because you're in the program and on the device. It's too much.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is kind of teacher to teacher in their teaching style, where Mr. Dietz uses it really effectively, and Ms. Williams, they do a great job in math, where they're on the board teaching and then they use it as a supplementary tool. Personally, I would rather make my own stuff and my own worksheets, my own problems and stuff. But we also don't have the IXL for science, so I'm kind of...
You hate to force something on a teacher to use,
Flexibility.
because how much value you going to get out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not going to happen that way. But we have to have some way of measuring growth. We just have to. And I didn't know if IXL or iReady or whatever else is out there is something we want to continue to do.
Well, and I think it would be a really good idea, and maybe it's already in the plan, but I think it would be a great idea for the math teachers from Richwood Middle and Somersville Middle to have the chance to collaborate on looking at the textbooks that are up for adoption. We share kids. We should be sharing professional development ideas, because, this is Nicholas County kids that, we're sharing them. And, my teachers may see something differently, their teachers, but if they could sit down and discuss that adoption together, the pros and the cons, and, because I know they have teachers looking at it too. So I think they need that time. And I mean, maybe even for the high school too, I'm sure.
I would like for them to, the middles and the highs to get together.
Yes, I think that's important. We all need to be on the same page with the 4 secondaries.
Volunteered to chair that committee.
Pardon me?
I think Heather Williams volunteered to chair that committee.
She would. So I think that would be an important piece, looking at that adoption. Yeah.
How do we make that happen?
The superintendent needs to give us a half a day or something, I don't know.
We have any PL.
A PL day would be
March, don't we?
I think we have one in March. If we could just designate the time, and not have an afternoon where we don't have any other trainings except for the math can go here, and maybe even the English could go here.
Is the PL day going to be past the adoption window?
Not if it's in March, I wouldn't think.
How many teachers would we be talking about here? How many would we need to get together?
I have 8 teachers that would probably want to be included in that. 2 in each grade level, and then I would want to include one of my special education teachers, because they, collab in those math classrooms.
Well, I mean, I see the value as a former principal. I see the value in giving teachers time to sit down. Okay, even in elementary school, say, okay, you've got Zeal Elementary School getting together with the math, sit down one afternoon and look at all the math stuff and say, what do we think is best? And getting all that information, all that input from all the schools. The only way you can do that, because there is not near enough subs and costs a lot way too much money, is to do an early out one day and designate it for that. Saying, guys, if we do an early out, that don't mean you get down here to the lake for that half day.
Sure.
It means you have this time to work together. Now, in Pocahontas County, I used to do this for our strategic plan. We built in 3 half days in the spring that the kids weren't there and the schools worked on their strategic plan because I really wanted it to be valuable. I didn't want this to be one person filling out all the paperwork.
Right.
So let me think on this.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can work
that
out
would be a
something.
great idea.
We have approved minutes, right?
We do. And like I was telling at the calendar meeting last night, we have 40 hours that we can use. You've used 18 of them, I think. 18 hours of them.
And usually by the middle of March, you're out of that 40.
Yeah, so you can easily do one. Thing is, time's of the essence when we're ready to adopt these books. So, may have to try to figure out the best way to do this, but I think that's something we can probably work. I think the board would support doing something like that. It probably wouldn't be a Friday because you know what happens. Nobody shows up for Friday. So it might do it on a Wednesday or Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
But let me work on that.
So would y'all prefer that together?
That's
I
okay
would
to
be
arrange
fine
together.
with it.
We're
I
going to be
think.
sharing Algebra 1.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you even have teachers that would have to be involved in that, correct?
Kim does, ma'am.
Yeah.
I mean,
The girls close enough to each other to be able to walk across the hall and do it. So, okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Well, I have celebrations.
Oh,
Good.
Okay. And then, okay, so to the future, one thing we've talked about, we would like to try designing a semester test system for the middle school level to maybe help with attendance issues. And then even on Paul's Perks Day, kids that don't earn it, parents come in and sign them out. And they take them home early
yes.
because they didn't earn it, instead of sending them down to the classroom where they can get caught up. So we were hoping, I spoke with Amy Robertson, about looking at that, because the current policy that we have is a high school policy. So I think we would have to look at that for middle school. We're organizing the Raise Club, that's the anti-tobacco club at the school. PBIS, our team, goes this Friday, and we're looking at professional development for the teachers, de-escalation tactics for issues within the classroom, assigning appropriate homework, relevant homework, and building relationships and supporting families. And the last one should be lots of celebrations. One that's not on here, I want to say, Gigi Boggs was our county spelling bee winner. So this was created before she won that, but we won the CWBAC championships in cheer, soccer, and football. Cross country girls won first place and boys finished third in our conference. Joanna Angus was first overall in our cross country conference. First year wrestler Connor Gibson, 5th at the SAZs, and Mason Thomas was 7th. And we were super successful at County Math Field Day. So we're really proud of that. That's all I have.
And so we told Tom we were working on his roof, and we're working on your sewer problem, and we're working on your new school.
Right? Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, good job, all of you. And I'm glad you're protecting that instructional time.
Yeah, it's really important. Yeah.
And, I know we need to get together, but I think the worst thing used to be we'd have trainings and pull half our teachers and not have subs and send these kids to, rooms with word searches and stuff to do. And I know it went on. I know my kids went to school. I know. And I'm not faulting either school. It went on everywhere. But we got to protect our instructional time.
And I'm telling you, if you can put team planning in your schedule, you can eliminate so many interruptions to instruction. Because you have that 50 minutes a day that they get their personal planning. So I'm not messing with it. They've got 50 minutes that they have an agenda and this is what you guys need to do for the week. Whether I'm in the meeting or not, they have a team notebook, they take notes. That's where I find out, hey, what do you need as far as professional development? What kids need is that. And, I can have people come in and train. And everyone that I've brought in for professional development, I'm like, well, it's kind of spread out through the day. Can you give me a day with some downtime? And they do. So if schools can create a team planning schedule within their master, it makes it a lot easier. And you don't lose that time, and you don't have to pay subs, and it works.
So when you evaluate your staff, you're going to emphasize that they teach.
They hear it from me.
Not just use.
Yeah.
Program.
And most teachers, I feel, have a good balance. I think that they understand the balance that's needed, but I do think we need to make sure we're supporting them as far as professional development goes, and bringing in those trainings for them.
I completely agree with you. Children have no background. You have to build that background
Sure.
for them. And I found that at every level. College level, doesn't make any difference. You've got to show them how. I mean, there's no replacement.
So when we were at at Craigsfield for the Ridgewood schools, a big issue was their TVs. They said they weren't getting them. They losing signal half the time. Are you all having any of that?
Internet stability is a big
That's why
part
we're
of
hooked
that.
up hard, that's why we're hardwired everything.
So we told Chris that if they needed hardwired, we need to hardwire them all. I mean, if that's what it needs to use them, because
Well, we're just.
They have started that.
If I want to screen share, I can't always screen share.
And a big part of it, as far as I understand, I mean, Chris could probably tell you better than I could, but like when classes change, it takes 5 or 10 minutes for the internet to stop bouncing the devices back and forth between the access points to where I can even take attendance. So it takes, when they're all in the hallway, it pings and connects them to each one as they go by. And then it takes time for those to settle back in and connect to their new access point in their next class before we can do anything with our technology. And that's,
so that's a problem in the pods. Is that a problem here as well?
It's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Okay.
that's one of the, because I'm kind of like the tech dude for the 8th grade team. So they'll call me whatever stuff's going on, and if it's before or after a class change, that's what's going on. It's just the stability.
And I think sometimes it's our wiring, because we've had a lot of phone trouble. And so when they come out to look at our phone lines, they say, like, under the building, they're damp from water. And so.
Been under there, I know.
Yeah. And there's not a whole lot you can do for that. It's just our location and snow and all of that. So they have replaced our phone lines to update those.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, good job, everybody. Thank you all. So remember, our next meeting is next Monday, and it's an LSIC meeting at Birch River at 4 o'clock. And then next Thursday at the Career and Technical Center at 2 o'clock. Anybody have anything? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion, seconded by?
Second.
Mr. Green, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5:13.